Welcome to Slip 101. I'm your host, Hannah Sterling. I'm here at a Creative Corner and Friends, which is a full-service ceramic shop owned and operated by Zandra and Terry Shaver, located at 8550 Pearl Street, Thornton, Colorado, 80229. So, welcome to Slip Casting 101. As I said before, my name is Hannah. You may view some of my works at www.artworkbysterling.com. So, today we are slip casting larger art pieces. As I went over last week, slip casting is creating hollow objects from a two-part plaster mold like seen here. Today we are doing pretty larger scale pieces. This piece here is approximately 1.5 to 2 feet by a foot or so in size. It's pretty big. I've already gotten the slip in there, and now it's just forming its inner layer of along the wall on the inside. So for these larger pieces, you have to obviously create a much thicker wall on the inside right here. So this could be a lawn gnome for all I know. It could, if this object is going to be used outside, it needs to have a thick wall to withstand weather conditions, snow, rain, ice, etc., etc. It's going to be more fragile. You're going to want your the clay to be thicker, so it's easier to handle because of the size. So this tool is called a fettling knife. It's used to measure thickness. You use this flat side of your tool to measure the thickness. So when I go in, like so, the clean side of my knife is going to determine how thick the piece is. So obviously this is not thick enough quite yet, but we want it to be about midway through horizontally of the knife in thickness. The clean side is the thickness of the slip that's formed on the inside. All this excess here doesn't even matter. This is going to be dumped back into the slip container to be reused for other pieces. So we've tested the thickness, we go against the wall, and then we pull out, and that's how much has accumulated. And we go over here. This piece is pretty big too, but you can even tell just from looking right here. You can see the thin layer that has formed on the inside, and that is not enough. Since this is a larger scale piece, we want it to be much more thick. It will be easier to handle and whatnot later. After we dump out the excess slip into the slip container, then we fettle it, meaning we remove excess clay that is we don't want on our piece, and then when the clay is leather dry enough, then we remove the 2-part piece and we set it out on these tables, shelving back here to dry. So this is an example of all the pieces that have been made today alone, and they're all still wet. You can tell by the color, this being a dark gray color, and you know that your piece is ready to be handled when it's dry. And when it's dry, it turns this light gray, creamy white color. And you can also tell by touch. When you touch your piece, it's cold. When it's cold, that means it's wet still, you know, along with the dark gray color. And then when you touch your dry piece, it's cool but not cold. It's just all the water has been evaporated from this piece, and it's ready to be put out on the shelves for sale by this point. So here at A Creative Corner, we have approximately 20,000 molds on site. This is a mold. This is a mold. These are all molds. Most of these molds are 2-part pieces. Some of them are 3 and some of them are 4-part pieces. And we usually have rubber bands or straps to hold them together, because you don't want your 2-part piece falling apart in the molding slip casting process, because that would be a disaster. It would be a awful mess. So here's an example of a mold that has already been fettled, meaning the excess around the lip area right here has been cleaned off, because you don't want that excess attached to your piece. It would be you'd be more likely to break it, crack it, and it would be awful to clean that. You don't want that drying on there that way. So the other part has been, this is a 2-part mold. As you can tell, there's one that it has been left in. The reason why this piece has not been completely taken out yet is because the clay is not hard enough to handle yet. It needs like another 30 minutes of like air time to harden it up a tad. I mean, it's not going to dry completely, but it's going to dry enough that it can be handled, removed from the plaster mold, and put on the drying shelves. So the reason why we use plaster molds is because plaster absorbs moisture, and it's cheap and affordable to make molds, and it's just the most effective way. So back to our large art pieces here. I'm gonna test the thickness, drag that out. As I said earlier, this piece needs to have a thick layer of slip collected, so it doesn't break apart later or whatever. I'm gonna say this needs maybe a minute or 2 longer, and then I'm gonna dump it out, and you're gonna get to see how that looks. Now this one, as I said before, plaster absorbs moisture. The reason why you see this slip right here, not at the top, as it should be up here, is because the plaster is absorbing the moisture, and as that happens, the clay settles and gets kind of sucked down, which is fine. As long as it doesn't go too far down, then you're good. If it goes too far, you'll be able to tell, and it could potentially damage your piece later because it would be unproportional in thickness. So this one is fine. This is ready to be dumped. Let me show you how that happens.